Welcome to Couples Emporium. This is episode 28. I am Lincoln, your host, along with my dear wife, Sandi, our co host. And today, our subtitle is How to Tell the Difference Between Genuine Relationship Readiness and the Desire to Escape Loneliness. This episode is entitled, Are You Ready for Love Again? Or just tired of being alone? Are you ready for love again? Or just tired of being alone? So, this is Couples Emporium, where faith meets relationship science and biblical principles. Today, we're asking a question that may be uncomfortable, but it is worth asking.
Yeah.
Are you ready for love again? Or are you just tired of being alone? The two are not the same because those two things can feel very similar.
Yeah.
You can miss companionship. You can miss having someone to talk to at the end of the day, and you can miss affection, shared plans, inside jokes, and simply having another person beside you. But missing connection does not always mean you or I are ready to build another relationship. Sometimes it means you're lonely. And loneliness deserves compassion, but it should not be allowed to make every decision.
That's right. That's right. Now, this is a space where we have honest conversation about what it really takes to build healthy and lasting relationships. And this episode follows naturally from our last conversation in episode 27, where we spoke about a second chance at love. We had a wonderful, wonderful
Yes, we did.
discussion and conversation, getting a lot of great feedback, speaking with Anisha. And not to be a spoiler, but we have something coming down in the pike, and yes, it's pertaining to our dear Anisha. And I'm just going to do a little recap of our last episode. Again, we spoke to Anisha and we talked about what it means to consider loving again after heartbreak. We explored what you have to live through, what you have learned, what may still be wounded, what deserves caution, what should not be carried into the next relationship, and what evidence makes trusting another person reasonable, and how to build financially while still leaving room for love. Now, today we're taking the next step, which is again, what if you want to love again, but you're not sure whether the desire is coming from being ready or being lonely?
So let's start by saying this clearly. There's nothing weak or embarrassing about feeling lonely.
That's right. Yep.
Human beings are built for connection.
Yes, we are.
We want to be known. We want companionship. We want someone who notices when we are quiet. Someone who asks how the day went. Someone who remembers the story behind the story.
Yeah.
So when a relationship ends, whether through divorce, separation, betrayal, or simply recognizing that the relationship cannot continue, the absence can feel enormous. You're not only missing a person, you may be missing a routine,
That's
a
right.
role,
Yeah.
a future you imagined, a version of yourself that existed inside that relationship.
Yeah.
And that is why loneliness can sometimes feel like evidence that you need relationship immediately. Another relationship, that is.
Yeah.
But loneliness tells you that you need connection. It doesn't necessarily tell you what kind of connection you need, or whether a new romantic relationship is the healthiest answer.
Wow. Sometimes loneliness can become loud. It can make an ordinary even feel like proof that something is wrong. It can make social media difficult because everybody appears to be celebrating anniversaries, engagements,
Oh, yeah.
vacations, and date nights. You can start thinking, everybody has somebody except me. And
Mm,
once that thought settles in, almost any attention can begin to feel significant.
sure.
A text feel bigger than it is.
Hmm.
Compliment feels like compatibility. Chemistry feels like character. Someone being available feels like someone being right for you.
Mm,
This is where we need to be cautious. Not because the love is dangerous, but because loneliness can lower the questions we would normally
mm,
ask. Instead of asking, is this person emotionally healthy? We may ask, do they like me? Instead of asking, do our values align? We may ask, will they stay? Instead of asking, do I feel safe being honest with them? We may ask, how can I keep them interested?
mm.
These are very different questions.
Relationship readiness is not about reaching some magical date on
Hmm.
the calendar.
Yeah.
There's no universal rule that says you must be single for 6 months, a year, or 3 years before you are allowed to ever consider love again.
Mm,
People heal differently.
that's right. That's right.
The length of time matters
Hmm.
less than what has happened during that time.
Hmm.
Have you reflected? Have you grieved?
Hmm.
Have you learned anything? Have you taken responsibility for your own patterns where responsibility belongs to you?
Hmm.
Have you rebuilt areas of your life that became unstable? Can you talk about your former relationship without every conversation becoming consumed by anger,
Oh, that's excellent.
longing,
That's good.
or the need to prove something?
Hmm.
Research on relationship breakups shows that separation can involve loneliness, distress, loss of identity, attachment to an ex partner,
Mm.
and difficulty adjusting. Attachment research also shows that people respond to separation differently,
That's right.
depending on their emotions, their emotional pattern and their coping styles.
Mm.
And that research comes from the American Psychological Association. So, a readiness friend is not simply, I have been alone long enough.
Mm.
It is more like, I have become honest enough.
Yeah, that's right. And that distinction matters because you can be single for years and still carry unresolved pain into every new relationship.
Wow.
And you can also have done meaningful healing in a shorter period of time.
Mm,
The question is not whether the clock has moved. The question is whether you have moved. Have your boundaries changed? Has your
mm.
discernment changed? Has your communication changed? Have your expectations become clearer? Do you understand what you tolerated before and why?
Wow.
Do you understand what you need now? Can you recognize the difference between attraction and emotional safety?
Oof.
Can you allow someone to earn trust instead of handing it over because you're too excited to feel chosen again?
Mm.
Those are better indicators of readiness than a calendar.
One sign is that you are more interested in having somebody than in knowing who that somebody actually is.
Mm, that's good.
And that sounds simple,
Mm-hmm.
but it happens. You may find yourself saying things like, I just do not want to be alone anymore. I want somebody to travel with. I want somebody to come home to.
Mm,
I miss being in a relationship. Those are understandable desires, friend.
yes, they are.
And but notice that none of them says anything about the kind of person you
Yeah.
want to build with.
Mm-hmm.
Is if the position matters more than the person, loneliness may be leading you.
Mm-hmm.
You might be trying to fill a vacancy.
Yeah.
A healthy relationship, friend, is not supposed to be a job opening.
Right? Exactly.
If it is a relationship rather between two specific people
Mm,
whose values, character, emotional maturity, goals, and lives need to make sense together.
that's right. Yep. I so agree with that. We can't just make decisions, especially when it comes to relationship based on how we feel,
Mm-hmm.
because we've discussed in previous episodes where I share that early in our marriage, there's times I will feel lonely. And there's times throughout, I would say, if we were to be really honest as married couples, there's times you're going to feel lonely. Your spouse could go away on a trip. Your spouse may take on another position at work.
Mm-hmm.
So there's going to
Mm-hmm.
be periods throughout your marriage that you are going to feel
Amen.
lonely.
Mm-hmm.
So we do not encourage anyone to say, you know what, I'm tired of being by myself, so I'm just going to go out
Yeah.
there in the dating world, or I'm just going to start seeing someone, or I'm going to download this dating app and start seeing. No, really think this through, because this is a very, very serious decision to make, and you don't want to make it just based on just feeling lonely. I got married in my late 40s, to Lincoln, and I did different things while I was single. Yes, being single meaning that there was a certain amount of years that I was taking care of my mother, but I did things, and I appreciate the support group that I had back then. I still have some of them are still part of my circle where I get,
Mm-hmm.
support. But I remember one particular person was encouraging me, Sandy, find out, through social services if there's someone that can come in and stay with your mom so you can travel. And I'm glad that I took that person's suggestion, and I did. And next thing you know, my sister and I, we went to England. We went back to our first trip back to England in 2012. We went again in 2014, and I was able to do different things. I was able to go to New Jersey. Back then, my sister was living in New Jersey. I was able to go and spend a weekend with her, and I was able to do different things. It
Mm-hmm.
was around that time I started focusing a little bit on my writing. So it's good to make. There's nothing wrong with saying, as Lincoln was saying earlier, that I feel lonely. We're not saying or even suggesting that you
True.
should
Mm-hmm.
suppress those feelings, because we were all created to connect with someone else, whether it be a spouse or a friend or a confidant or a sibling or a family relationship, working relationship. We're human beings, and that's what human beings do. We connect with people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, another sign is that attention sometimes can feel like it's proof of being compatible with that person. That's not necessarily the case, because after rejection, divorce, or betrayal, or unfortunately the passing of a spouse, being wanted can feel incredibly powerful.
Mm.
Someone may say to you, you're attractive. They may text you a lot. They tell you that they've never met anyone like you.
Ooh.
And suddenly your nervous system is saying, finally, finally someone is seeing me. And there's nothing wrong with being feeling wanted and feeling like,
That's
like a
right.
sense
That's
of
right.
belonging. There's nothing wrong with
Hmm.
that. What we're saying is that don't make a commitment to be in a relationship because you're just simply lonely. You have to deal with that issue first.
Hmm.
But being desired is not the same as being understood. Being
Mm.
pursued is not the same as being respected.
Wow.
Being excited about someone is not the same as knowing them.
Hmm.
And this is where courtship or dating needs enough time for reality to show up. How do they handle disappointment? How do they speak about their former partners?
Mm.
How do they respond when you disagree? Do they respect a boundary about without punishing you? Are they financially responsible?
Ooh.
Can they apologize? Can they be patient?
Mm.
Can they hear no?
Wow.
Do their words and behavior agree? Attraction can introduce you. Character tells you whether you should stay.
Wow. Those are some really good points,
Yeah,
Sandy. You
yeah.
know, a third sign is that you feel pressure, friend, to make the relationship serious and quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that urgency sounds romantic. We just know.
Mm-hmm.
Why waste time? We're not getting any younger.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, mature adults do not need to pretend they're teenagers.
Yep.
You can be intentional,
Mm-hmm.
but urgency and intention are not the same thing.
Yep. Yep.
Intention says, I know what I am looking for,
Mm.
so I'm going to pay attention carefully. Urgency says, I need this to work, so I am going to overlook what makes me uncomfortable.
Mm-mm.
Whew. There's research suggesting that moving towards someone new can sometimes help people detach from a former partner,
Mm.
particularly for people with anxious attachment patterns. Other research also suggests that post breakup adjustment varies considerably from person to person. So the presence of a new relationship is not automatically unhealthy, friend,
Mm-hmm.
but it is not automatically evidence of readiness either.
Yeah.
And that research comes from Public Med. You still have to ask why you're moving quickly.
Mm.
Is it clarity or is it relief?
Mm-hmm. That's right. A fourth sign is that you need the new person to repair what the old relationship damaged. Maybe your former spouse made you feel unattractive, so you need constant reassurance. Maybe you were abandoned, so you need immediate access to the new person at all
Mm,
times. Maybe
wow,
you were betrayed, so you feel entitled to monitor every conversation.
wow.
Maybe you are financially controlled, so now every discussion about money feels threatening.
Mm,
Those reactions may make sense in light of what happened. Again, we're not denying any of this. But a new partner cannot heal everything that another person
ooh,
broke.
wow.
They can support healing,
Yes.
they can be trustworthy,
Hmm.
they can be patient,
Yes.
they can help create a different experience, but they should not be assigned the job of proving every day that they're not your former partner.
Wow.
I'm going to say that again. But they should not be assigned the job of proving every day that they are not your former partner.
Mm-mm-mm.
That responsibility becomes exhausting for both people, and it
Yes.
definitely is. Healing includes recognizing when an old wound is interpreting a new situation.
Wow. And a fifth sign is that being single feels unbearable
Mm-hmm.
rather than simply comfortable. I mean, uncomfortable rather. There's a difference.
Mm-hmm.
You may prefer partnership, You may deeply desire marriage. You may not enjoy being single, friend. None of that means you are unhealthy. But if being alone makes you feel worthless, invisible, incomplete, or desperate secure a relationship at almost any cost, that deserves attention.
Yeah.
Because desperation changes standards.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say that again. Desperation changes standards.
Mm-hmm.
It changes boundaries.
Yeah.
It changes what you excuse. It can turn a red flag into something you explain away because the alternative feels worse.
Yeah.
And sometimes the work before the next relationship is learning that being alone for a seasoned friend is not the same as being abandoned by life.
Mm-hmm. That's a lot to take into consideration. I like what you when you said how it can turn into a red flag.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes if we all look back in a previous relationship where it wasn't going that great, but you didn't want to be alone, so you stuck it
Mm-hmm.
out, that's a red flag, and we want to encourage people that are out there. If you're in a situation where you're not safe at all, you're not feeling safe,
Yes,
we suggest go and get help.
definitely.
Go and get help. Surround yourself with good people that will support you, not just saying, oh, you should just stick it out when you know that you're being harmed. Or it could be the other way around. You may
Mm-hmm.
be harming, you have unresolved issues, so you're making poor choices, which includes harming the person that you say that you care
Mm-hmm.
about. You need to go and get help.
Yes, they
You
do.
need to go and get help.
Mm-hmm.
So, what does readiness look like? One sign is that you can desire love without needing another person to rescue you from your current life. You're building a life that functions. You have relationships outside of romance. That's so
Yes.
important. Yep. And
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the things that I did. I was determined that, yes, while I did have a desire to get married, I wasn't sitting around just saying I'm just going to wait until this
Yeah.
person comes into my life. I was determined to live a balanced life because I got to a point in my life I was like, if it happens, it happens, and if it doesn't happen, I'm going to live my life. And that's so important. You are learning how to manage your finances. You're paying attention to your emotional health.
Mm-hmm.
You have interests, responsibilities, friendships, family, faith, work, purpose,
Mm.
and a life that does not disappear simply because you're not partnered.
Amen.
That does not mean your life feels complete in every way. Because the goal about having someone in your life, it's not about feeling complete. No one can ever make us feel complete. And I know years ago they have that movie, I forgot the name of it. I know Renee, I forgot the actress, her last name, and Tom Cruise was in it, and she said,
Zellweger?
yes,
Mm.
you complete me. And I remember when that movie came out, can't remember the name, Cuba Gooding Jr.
Junior.
was in it
Yeah.
also, and a couple other actors and actresses. But everybody was going around. Back then, we didn't have social media, so it was kind of like,
Oh, that's when he was a sport agent, right? I believe.
yes,
Yeah.
and he
Yeah.
was, interested in Renee, her her character, of course, and he said, "You complete me." And women were just swooning. Oh no,
So are you saying I don't
no, you
complete
do
you?
not complete me. As much as I love you, no, you do not
Oh
complete me.
man, I gotta do work on this harder.
No, again, that does not mean your life feels complete in every way. You can still want companionship. Again, there's nothing wrong with desiring to be with someone or to have someone in your life. But you are not asking a relationship to become your entire source of identity.
Amen. Amen.
Yep. The Gottman Institute often emphasizes self awareness, emotional readiness, communication skills,
Hmm.
and the ability to bring your authentic self into a relationship rather than using another person to fulfill an emotional void. That is healthier. That is a healthier place coming from when it comes to choosing.
That is so
You
true.
have to be healthy, and we're not saying perfect to be perfect, to be healthy. There again, there's nothing wrong with going and seeing someone. It doesn't just have to be a psychologist or
Hmm.
a therapist. You could see a life coach. You could go see someone that's good with finances, like a financial coach. Take a couple of classes. Be a mentor. Do something fulfilling that you can get to a place and say, you know what? I now realize that I was thinking about going into a relationship because I want to quench this ache of loneliness
Hmm.
when it was actually not being fulfilled, not feeling like you are living your life to the fullest. Because no one can ever take that space,
Not even me.
not even you. You still have to live a life that is fulfilled. There's nothing wrong with being having passion or being passionate about something that you want to do. Whether it's to write or to travel or to host a podcast, to be a guest on a podcast, to write songs. I mean, we have AI now where you can do so many different things. And maybe you might not be into AI. You can, find something else that you can get to a place where you can say, you know what? I thought I need someone in my life, but I'm realizing that I wasn't living my best life.
Mm.
That's so important. So a healthier place, we need to make choices when it comes to relationship from a healthy place. That's what I'm saying.
Another sign is that you can be curious about someone instead of immediately trying to secure them.
Hmm.
And that is important
Yes.
because courtship or dating is not just an audition where you try to make sure they choose you.
Right.
You are also observing. You are asking,
Hmm.
who is this person when life becomes inconvenient?
Yep, that's important.
What do they value?
Hmm.
How do they treat people who cannot do anything for them?
Hmm.
What is your relationship with responsibility?
Yep.
How do they handle money?
Mm.
How do they handle family? What happens when they're angry? What happens when I disappoint them? Can they respect my pace?
Mm.
Can we disagree without threatening the relationship? Readiness truly makes room for observation,
Hmm.
and loneliness often wants certainty too early.
That's right. Yep. Readiness also means you can walk away from something that is wrong, even if you really wanted it to work. And that may be one of the hardest tests. Yes, it can be very, very challenging because sometimes people think healing means I'm ready to love again. But
Mm,
healing may also mean I'm ready to leave sooner when something is unhealthy.
yes.
You do not need to stay for 6 months to prove you gave someone a fair chance when there are clear problems with character, honesty, safety, or
Mm-hmm.
respect. You do not have to convert every connection into a relationship. You do not have to force chemistry into compatibility. You do not have to keep explaining away what your own judgment is already telling you.
Mm.
Being ready for love includes being ready to say no. I need to say that again. Being ready for love also includes being ready to say no. I remember years ago, my sister actually said that to me. She said, one of the things I admire about you, Sandy, is that you were so settled and comfortable with yourself that if you're in a relationship and you know that this is not going to work because you see certain signs, and it's not that there's a fault with the person, but sometimes I think people just try to stick things out
Yeah.
for
Mm-hmm.
appearance's sake,
Mm-hmm.
to say that, well, I have someone, I'm dating someone, I'm getting ready to marry someone. But she always say to me, saying, one of the things I admire about you, you did not have a problem being by yourself, and I didn't.
Mm.
I didn't. I got to that place, and I didn't get there right away. And it wasn't. There's times I'll go to bed crying because I long to be with someone. I was desiring companionship, but I was also, on the flip side, I was also determined that I'm not going to marry someone because I am lonely.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
From our faith perspective, we believe marriage is a covenant.
Mm-hmm.
And because covenant matters, selection matters.
Yes, it does.
You're not choosing someone merely to reduce loneliness.
Mm-hmm.
And you're considering whether this person could become someone with whom you build a life.
Mm.
Proverbs chapter 4 and verse 23 in the King James Version says, "Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it flows the issues of life." So guarding your heart does not mean to close it off.
Mm-hmm.
It means being responsible with it.
That's right.
And there's a difference between a wall and a gate. A wall says nobody gets in. A gate says access is possible, but not automatic.
That's right.
That truly, my friend, is wisdom.
Definitely is wisdom. And faith does not mean pretending loneliness does not hurt. We do not need to make single people feel guilty for wanting companionship. Wanting love is human.
Yes.
Wanting marriage can be deeply meaningful.
Mm.
But we also do not want fear or being alone to become stronger than discernment. Sometimes waiting is not punishment. Sometimes waiting gives you time to see things clearly, time to rebuild, time to learn yourself again, time to recognize patterns, time to become less impressed by words and more attentive to behavior,
Mm.
time to ask whether somebody is actually safe for the future you are trying to build.
As I'm reflecting as you're speaking, waiting for anything is always challenging.
Of course it is. No.
Any kind of a blessing, it doesn't matter what,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's love, finances, education, like pursuing a degree
Mm-hmm.
like I am. It's just always been a challenging
Mm-hmm.
thing
That's right.
because we think that the length of time that we wait, it's almost as if time is saying no.
Yeah.
That's the mindset that we tend to develop.
Mm-hmm.
Here are a few questions worth sitting with, friends. When I imagine a new relationship, what do I want most?
Mm.
Think about that. Do I want companionship, validation,
Mm.
marriage, emotional safety, financial security, physical affection,
Mm.
or simply relief from loneliness? What am I hoping another person will make me feel?
Mm.
What part of my life am I currently avoiding? What have I learned from my previous relationship?
Yeah, that's good.
Can I identify my own patterns without taking responsibility for things that were not mine?
Mm,
Can I tolerate the possibility that someone I like may not be right for me?
yeah,
I'm going to say that one
that's
again.
hard.
Can I tolerate the possibility that someone I truly like
Hmm.
and desire may not be right for me?
Yep, I've done that. That's not easy.
Can I move slowly enough to gather evidence, to gather data,
Yep.
empirical evidence?
Hmm.
And if this person disappeared tomorrow, would I still know who I am?
That's important, especially for the ladies. Yep.
I need to just let that one sit. Let you marinate on that for a little bit.
Mm.
Would you still know who you are?
Yep.
Those are not questions designed to talk you out of love, friends. They're designed to help you enter love, awaken.
Yep. Mm. It's like people say, love is blind. I disagree. I believe love is a choice.
So
I
do I.
mean, you can't say I'm just gonna walk into this blindly because then again you're just trusting that good gushy butterfly feeling. And I'm not saying that you may not experience that, but that's not a good indicator of saying I love this person. Every time I'm around them, I'm feeling this feeling just coming over me, and you find yourself you just taking a blind eye to everything. You
So
know,
butterflies are not sufficient.
it's not. I'm not saying it's not a part of it, but
Yeah.
we should not just rely on just the good feeling, because if you enter a love relationship blindly, then when they start verbally abusing you or putting you
Ooh.
down or trying to avoid talking about some serious questions, then you're just gonna go by that feeling that every time I'm around them, I feel that connection. I'm attracted to them. You're just gonna like close your eye and just totally ignore everything that's going on with this person, and that's not good. That's not good. Because if you're already in a courtship or dating relationship, these are some of the questions that you should be asking. Am I able to be honest about my pace?
Mm.
Can I say what I need? Can I hear something disappointing without immediately fearing abandonment?
Mm.
Can I allow this person to be who they actually are instead of who I hope they will become? Am I paying attention to character? Again, sometimes we can turn a blind eye. Am I making excuses because I do not want to start over again?
Mm.
Do I feel peaceful enough to observe, or am I constantly trying to secure the relationship? Maybe one of the biggest question is, if I knew I would eventually meet someone healthy, would I still choose this person?
Mm.
Because sometimes fear of scarcity keeps people attached to relationships they would evaluate very differently if they believe another opportunity could exist.
I'm going to say that again. Because sometimes fear of scarcity
Hmm.
keeps people attached to relationships they would evaluate very differently if they believed another opportunity could exist.
Yep.
Because when things are scarce, we think what? He's the only guy
Yep.
available.
Hmm.
She's the only girl available.
Yep.
And we
Yep.
start to think,
Yeah, she's
as,
insulting me, but you know what? When I'm around her, I just feel this energy, even though she's insulting me and, she's attacking my manhood. I'm just, she's just gorgeous still, or she'll eventually come around, she'll see how I'm important and how I'm a blessing to her in her life. No, my friend, when you feel that gut feeling, especially it won't go away, and you have people around you that love and care about you. I'm not talking about someone or a family member or someone that you're associated with, is saying, I don't like her for you. And they can't give you a valid reason. They just can't. Every single time, I don't like this person for you. I'm talking about someone that cares about your welfare and they see where this is at. And especially if it's a mature person or a mature couple and they're like, no, I don't like what Lincoln is doing, or he's around this person. When he's around this person, we notice that he's not himself. It's
Wow.
like he shuts down completely. No, friends, that's not. No one is supposed to be doing that to you where you can't be your authentic self. It's like you have to be pretend like you're someone else. And then you want to spend the rest of your life with this person, which means you're going to spend the rest of your life pretending to be someone else. That's not love and that's not life.
Wow. A second chance at love, friends, can be truly beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
But the goal is not simply to love again.
Mm,
The goal is to love with greater wisdom,
that's right.
to choose with greater clarity,
Mm-hmm.
to recognize that loneliness is real without allowing loneliness to lower your standards,
That's right.
to let the past teach you without letting the past control you,
Mm-hmm.
and to understand that being ready for love does not mean you're fearless.
Right.
It means fear is no longer making every decision for you.
That's right. Yes. Because you can want love and still wait. And that's what
Mhm.
I did. You can be hopeful and still ask questions.
Yes.
You can be open and still have boundaries, which you
Oh,
should. I'm a
yes.
stickler for boundaries. You can believe in marriage and still take your time deciding whom you could responsibly build one with.
Amen.
And if you're lonely right now, we hope you do not hear that as something to be ashamed of. There's nothing
That's
wrong with
right.
being by
That's right.
yourself. Absolutely nothing. And we hope you hear instead an invitation to become curious about what that loneliness is asking for. Because maybe you need friendship. Maybe you need community. Maybe you need healing. Maybe you need rest. Maybe you are ready for courtship or dating again. But let readiness, wisdom,
Mm.
character, and clarity help to answer these questions. Not just simply by saying, you know what, I'm lonely, I'm going to download this dating app. No, that's not the way to go.
As you were speaking there, the thought came to me, especially while I was doing the research on shared life, principles for a successful marriage. Singleness, friends, it does not mean incompleteness.
That's right. That's right.
Let that sit with you for a
Mm-hmm.
minute. Singleness does not mean incompleteness.
That's right.
And I'm not saying for those of you who desire companionship or desire to be married that I'm telling you you need to be single. I'm just letting you know for those of you, and you might be in a minority, of course, if you're single, don't feel pressured that you have to be married to be complete.
Mm-hmm.
Just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, that's good.
So,
That's
we
good
want to
advice.
thank you for joining us for episode 28 of Couples Emporium.
Yes.
If this conversation made you think of someone who's trying to decide whether they're ready to love again, share it with them.
That's right. And ask yourself this question before you go. Am I looking for someone to build a life with or someone to make being alone hurt less? The answer may tell you more than you expect.
Friends, this has been Couples Emporium, where faith meets relationship science and biblical principles.
And where we have honest conversations about what it really takes to build healthy, lasting, and thriving relationships.
And before we go, remember to like,
Yes.
share, and subscribe. And as I will often say, what's keeping you so long? Subscribe and help us grow this channel.
Yes.
For Couples Emporium, I am Lincoln, and that beautiful smile you see again is Sandi. Have a wonderful day.
And take care now. We appreciate the support.